It's the View from the Nosebleeds podcast with your hosts, Jeff Berg and Justin Everett.
One of the first childhood memories I have is going to Shea Stadium. It was 86 or 87, so the Mets were really good. And they had this brand to them, this gritty brand. You had Dykstra, they called them Nails. You had Howard Johnson, Keith Hernandez, right? They're known for doing coke in the clubhouse.
So the winning run is at second base with 2 out, 3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Back involved, obviously, on those runs from 07 to 11. And the Four Horsemen and all the shit that the Phillies put together in that run was tremendous. Getting to watch in person Roy Halladay throw a baseball for my team it was really what kind of built the Phillies up for me.
Halladay is 1 strike away. The 0-2. A bouncer. Ruiz. In time! Roy Halladay has thrown a no-hitter!
And now, the View from the Nosebleeds.
Welcome, everybody, to this new angled sports show that we're trying. I'm here with a good friend, Justin Everett. You might remember him from Big Facts back in the day, a couple of years ago. I reached out to him recently and thought, I really like arguing sports. I miss sitting at the bar and getting into it with my friends about sports. Yelling at each other, busting each other's chops, and it's a good feeling. It's something that feels normal to me. So I wanted to just take a minute and kind of introduce ourselves and why sports matter to us, why we're fans of the teams that we are. And another thing I'll mention here is there's a million sports shows out there, but I think what makes this unique is I'm a fan of the New York Mets and the Washington Commanders, and you're a Philadelphia sports fan. So we're direct rivals. We have a bitter rivalry. We hate each other when playing. And I thought it'd be cool too. That would be our niche, right? So we'll appeal to the New York market out there, the Washington market, and the Philadelphia market, and that's what we'll mostly stick to. And we'll talk, some other sports if we have time at the end. But one of the reasons why I'm a Mets fan, I'm a rabid baseball fan. I don't know if you knew that about me. I obsess over baseball through the home run, the steroid era when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa brought it all back to, when baseball wasn't so popular, when games were going 3 hours and 40 minutes, I was watching every single pitch, every single minute, every single game. I watch 162 games a year. I don't miss a single one. I'm a rabid baseball fan. I still think it's the best sport on the planet for a lot of different reasons, and I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout the episodes that we do here. But the reason I'm a Mets fan is my entire family is from New York. They grew up on Long Island. My parents as well. My parents were the first ones to move to Pennsylvania, and my dad left when I was like 4 years old, right? He was a Yankees fan. So I think subconsciously I wanted to be a Mets fan because he's a piece of shit. But one of the first childhood memories I have is going to Shea Stadium. It was 86 or 87. So the Mets were really good. And they had this brand to them, this gritty brand. You had Dykstra, they called them Nails. You had Howard Johnson, Keith Hernandez, right? They're known for doing coke in the clubhouse in the midst of a pennant race. It was just a different brand of baseball back then. They played every single day. They didn't sit out 4 months because they had a tweaked hamstring, right? Pitchers went it strived to go 9 innings, right? They lost their shit if they got taken out. So anyway, being there at Shea Stadium in that dingy old crappy, it smelled like piss. It smelled like sewage. The food was terrible, but there was something about Shea Stadium that was magic when the Mets are in a pennant race. The whole stadium just shakes. I don't know if it's because it was poorly constructed, didn't care. Much like me, they're rabid fans. And it was a big stadium. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it was a lot like the Vet back in the day.
Yeah, sure. Similar buildings. I do want to give you, I'll start by giving you a pass. At least you're related to people there. That's the only pass that I'm willing to give. Most Philadelphians are way more ravenous than me and won't give you any passes. But I can give you the pass of if you're related in. It's the people who aren't that bother me. But I can give you a pass for your Mets fandom. I do. I get the feeling you're discussing. Because I think presently, right now, and I'm not trying to start off by telling you how bad your Mets are, but right now, in the last 5 years' time, the craziest place to be for postseason anything is the Citizens Bank Park. So I get it completely. I understand how that wraps you up, especially when you're young and you experience it first.
For the first time, yeah.
I was 17 when the Phillies won the World Series, and I'll never forget till 4 a.m. that night in the city after it happened and what came of that, and like what the emotions were. And it is something that'll draw you in, but I do give you a pass. I'll just strike out some of my notes for making fun of you for being a Mets fan.
No, I appreciate that.
Related. I'm okay with that.
Well, not only am I related to people that are Mets fans and, went to Shea Stadium, my cousin's uncle had the plumbing contract for Shea Stadium. So we got like box seats. So
Sure.
like another memory I had is sitting right behind the first base dugout, watching, Hojo hit 2 home runs and doing a curtain call. That was something that was really unique to New York for a while, that curtain call coming out and just throwing the helmet up and the crowd goes nuts.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I get it. I'm sorry you've had to suffer like I have, but I understand.
Well, you've had moderate success, at least recently,
Yes, we're better than you right now, but who knows how long that lasts.
So who knows? I think both teams now have better ownership, so hopefully it's a little bit more consistent. And then as far as Washington goes, I wasn't really a football fan. I didn't have anybody around to sit down and watch football and explain it to me. It was a foreign concept to me. I didn't make sense. I had no interest in it until, my mom remarried. We sat down and we watched the 92 Super Bowl, which of course was, they were the Redskins at the time, Buffalo Bills, who lost 4 straight Super Bowls. I don't think we'll ever see that again. No. But I mean, being in awe of that Joe Gibbs offense. I was a little bit older, obviously, but it was easier for me to grasp and understand what was going on. But I fell in love with the Ricky Sanders, the Gary Clarks, the Charles Mann, the Hoggs, seeing those grown men dress up in muumuus and putting the hog noses on. The song "Hail to the Redskins."
Sure.
It's just that feeling every time I watch, even now that the Commanders a Commanders game, I still go back to that feeling just like I do with the Mets game. So that's my story. I'd like to hear yours. I know it's a little bit, most people grow up liking their hometown teams, but there's usually an emotional connection to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, my sports journey started for me with basketball. It will always be my first love of sports, and it'll be my last one. I am a diehard Sixers fan, and the Celtics suck, and they always will. I don't care how many times they win. I started with basketball probably around the age of 9 or 10, Allen Iverson years, where there was something to be excited about, which is always easier to get involved. I don't come from a family where there was a lot of sports around. I also come from a pretty shitty father, so we share that in common. My uncle started having weekend barbecues when I was probably around 12 or 13. And they were centered around Eagles games. That's when he first started having these Eagles games. And when the fall comes, that's when we'd kick them off. And then we'd have like get-togethers, sort of. But I was spoiled, I will admit. I'm 33. So my core memory years of building for the Eagles, even though he's the most overrated quarterback in NFL history, was Donovan McNabb and reaching a couple of title games and getting to a Super Bowl and the T.O. drama. And like you, I like to argue. So anytime there's a team filled with as much drama as the Eagles have been, it's just an easy sell for me. And the Phillies for me, man, it was, again, like I've always paid attention to baseball, but it was sort of a third sport for me. I was one of those people that the new rule changes really helped because I cannot sit and watch anything for 4 hours. I don't want to watch a game that goes to the 21st inning at 4 a.m. There's no draw to that for me. In a very vacuum situation of Game 7 of the World Series, cool as shit to happen once. But every other game, I mean, it starts at 3:05 first pitch and it's 11:40 by the time it's over. It was too much for me.
Yeah,
but I got
the past
involved
couple years.
Oh my, it's been great. But I did get back involved, obviously, on those runs from '07 to 11. And the Four Horsemen and all the shit that the Phillies put together in that run was tremendous. You know, getting to watch in person Roy Halladay throw a baseball for my team it was really what kind of built the Phillies up for me. And now today, while the NBA will always be my darling, I think I'm more into the Phillies than I am the Eagles. We'll get into that with our topics today because I'm not a happy Eagles fan, but it is much more regular for me. I grew up in an area that was all Philadelphia. A lot of my family were really into the Flyers and hockey, which I loved as a younger kid. I kind of fell out of love with in my adulthood. It just didn't draw me in like the rest did. But my wife's family also, my wife's grandparents live in a house that 40 years ago was adjacent to Paul Holmgren. They were very involved with the Flyers. It was a big thing for her family also. And this is just a story of being a Philadelphian. You know, I'm from closer to the city where I grew up. So it's when you're in the ethos of that city, man, if you're in a suburb of Philadelphia, Delaware County, you are born, bred, and raised an Eagles fan to make more Eagles fans, or you're a rat and a Cowboys fan. That's what we have where I come from.
And you're beaten unmercifully for your entire life.
One could say justifiably, but yes, correct.
Do you? Because one thing I remember as a kid too, I would borrow my uncle's recap of the 1986 season, the VHS tape. And I used to watch it 5 or 6 times a day, dude, Justin. I was obsessed. He had to buy a new one because the thing wore out.
Yeah, dude, it's for me, the Sixers run in 01. That was for me. I could still today. I'll watch it today. I'll go find the 45-minute, 50-minute YouTube video of just the highlights of that run just for fun sometimes, man, because it brings you back to like the moment where you really like got bit into something, you know, something took you over. Sports is transcendent, all the rest. Yeah. You know, we might not be able to get along and have a fun argument about politics, but we certainly can hate each other as Mets and Phillies fans happen.
Yeah. And then be friends afterwards because like no one can deny the moments in sports history. Like, you know, one that sticks out for me as a Mets fan is when Piazza hit the, you know, walk-off home run right after 9/11. Like that was like years.
I hate the Mets.
Sobbing.
Yep, I hate the Mets. I'm very frequent. One of my turns of phrase I use all the time, which I will hear, is "fuck the Mets." I'm from Philadelphia. That's how we feel. But that moment is one of those moments, man, where it didn't matter who you liked, who you rooted for. It's one of those things that like feels scripted because it's too perfect. You know
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sports has so many of those moments. And you know, one thing I will say, and then we'll get into what we're talking about today. I will say, despite our bitter hatred for each other's teams, I think Philadelphia and the New York Mets specifically share a lot of things in common as far as who their fan base is at the core. Because, you know, you got the Yankees who are, you know, the elitists, you know, they'll always be, even though Steve Cohen, you know, has just as much money as the Steinbrenners, he can buy just as many players. There's something about the gritty, lovable loser Mets who are always coming from behind. They're always the underdog. And it's very similar to Philadelphia teams, right? They're written off before they even get a chance to show what they're about.
Well, and in the ethos of Philadelphia sports, that's the Eagles compared to the Phillies. Like in Philadelphia, it doesn't matter where you go or what you do. The Eagles are the number one draw, the number one team, the thing everybody cares about the most. And the Phillies have always been kind of rejected for that. You know, they've always been the ones that have to, until they were in a World Series in 2008, no one cared. The 13,000 people draws throughout the whole regular season. They make the playoffs, and in the first round, I think they had 21,000. And then they start, you know, actually playing, and people have to see it. The Eagles are a different monster, man. The Eagles could win 3 games a year, and they're like Jets fans. They're just dumb. We're dumb fans. We'll love our team no matter what. And like, I'm a little bit more honest, I think, than some of my Homer friends, but they are the Phillies and the Mets do have that together. The Yankees are the big brother of the Mets, and the Eagles are the big brother of the Phillies. It doesn't matter. The Phillies could win 5 straight World Series, and the Eagles could lose every game for 5 years. The Eagles will still outdraw the Phillies every time.
Yeah. Well, they've both become baseball towns for sure, and football. You know, obviously, football is very popular in New York too. And we will talk basketball. It's just I don't follow it as much. I don't have an emotional connection to a basketball team. I was a huge Jordan fan, so I rooted for the Bulls as a kid. I thought, you know, it was amazing that those 2 runs that they went on. It's just I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that again. But
I think we've already seen something better than that, and I think we're starting to see the next better thing. But we can argue about basketball. We can talk about how LeBron unseated Michael and how most likely Victor Wembanyama is going to unseat LeBron.
Well, that could be. I mean, he did some fucking. I mean, he's an alien.
He's an alien. He's not a real person. Yep.
But mainly, I wrote the root for a good story. I like the drama. So I will follow that. So we'll definitely talk basketball and some other sports here and there when it comes up.
Being a Celtics fan, so we'll be
no. I don't give a shit about the Celtics. All right. So obviously, the first thing that we have to talk about here, because and again, not you, because you are. I will agree. At least more down to earth, and you live in reality compared to other Eagles fans. But every single year, according to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia sports fans and the talk shows, they've already won the Super Bowl every fucking year.
Every time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't it funny how both of our teams are 1-1, and you're pissed, and I'm excited. So,
Justin, it shows that you're coming from the basement. Yeah, you're coming from the basement, Jeffrey. It's easy to be happy on an upswing. We're not sure where the fuck we are right now. Okay. So facts are facts with me. And there's no question that was a bad loss for a lot of reasons. I can't take the Saquon Barkley single-handedly lost the game because he fumbled the football. I can't take the Jalen Hurts threw a bad pass that was intercepted to end the game. None of that's relevant. Here's the problem. The problem is Nick Sirianni should have been fired 6 months ago. Nick Sirianni is the problem. He's a common denominator of all of the downfall and all of the destruction of every hope and dream us Eagles fans have for the last 3 years. You can pin on Jalen Hurts if you want to. I would understand somebody criticizing Hurts' play over the first couple of weeks. I was down after the win 2 weeks ago, just to be very clear. I was sounding fire alarms 2 weeks ago.
It didn't look great.
No, and they don't. And you have to, at a certain point, you've got to look at management, right? We all have jobs. If we're doing bad at our job, it's our fault. If we're doing everything we can with the tools that we're given and it's not working out, maybe somebody else has a little bit of a hand in this. And to me, Kellen Moore has certain pieces of this offense he's been given. You can see it in these first two games. There is some motion. There's some spontaneity. There's some stuff that's good. But 90% of this offense is the same thing they've ran with Jalen Hurts since Nick Sirianni took over this team. Friend of mine, right after the 3rd down and 8 quarterback draw design play, after a failed quarterback run design play. This is our beef as competent Eagles fans. If you want to be successful with Jalen Hurts, you can't run him into the ground. Washington fans know, just look at RG3. And hopefully not this new kid that's going to be good. But there's too much talent here. And Kellen Moore has done way too much with way less for me to believe that the offensive struggles are him. It's very clearly whatever fingerprints Nick Sirianni is still given. What I will say is a positive. The defense looks competent, which is a big step up for us as Eagles fans, because last year was a fucking nightmare. Yeah. A nightmare. 2 different coordinators. No one knew what the jargon of the language was. No one knew what the cadence or the call counts were. It was a nightmare last year. Vic Fangio's gotten competence because they played in the preseason, which is great. I feel like we're going to need 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks for this offense to figure it out, because I feel like we're in the same boat we were a couple of years ago with Shane Steichen, where Nick Sirianni tried to do it his way. After 5 or 6 weeks, it just didn't work. And all of the reins were given over to Shane Steichen, who's now a head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And I think the same thing's going to happen with Kellen Moore eventually. Nick Sirianni should have been fired 6 months ago, and I would drive his car to the airport to drop him off to wherever his next city is and fire him today.
Man, you guys run coaches out of town just as much as Washington does. Only
they hire big reasons.
Coaches. Like 2 Super Bowl, 3 coaches that took that team to a Super Bowl. You ran out of town.
Yeah, dude, you can't.
I'm not defending Sirianni, but
we're a hard fan base, man. And again, it's what you got to understand. We're an educated fan base for the most part. There's a lot of homers, we agree. But most of us know football because it's a part of what we're raised with. And I think Helen Keller could tell you that Nick Sirianni is the problem. I don't know how you could make an argument that it's anyone else. And what would you rather do? Would you rather move on from Nick Sirianni, give a young, bright mind like Kellen Moore the reins? Or would you rather go find another quarterback? And I know that's not the right answer
it's not easy.
Of the time. No.
Yeah. And, the offense has become predictable. When Steichen was running it, you didn't know what was coming.
Correct.
As a Washington fan, it's like I knew that, not that our defenses were ever any good, but I knew that they weren't going to be good that day, because you just didn't know what was coming, right? You knew that Hurts could run the ball, but you didn't know when.
Yep.
Now you know that chances are, if the drive lasts more than 3 or 4 plays, there's going to be a quarterback draw. You just know.
And he doesn't have it anymore. This is my other problem with Purdue. It's malfeasance, right? Not Tua and Miami levels, because they are complicit in whatever bad things happen to that guy at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But here, if Jalen Hurts hurt his knee in the second or third week last year, he had a deep bone bruise that he dealt with all season. That happens because you're putting him in positions to hurt himself. Did we invest $240 million so this guy spends 7 games a year out because he keeps hurting himself? Why are we putting him in this position to begin with? And to me, that common denominator of those plays, as my whole life as an Eagles fan, is Nick Sirianni. Kellen Moore didn't run that with Dak Prescott, and he had a mobile quarterback. Justin Herbert wasn't mobile, but he could move. There was no quarterback design runs. That's not Kellen Moore's offense. That's Nick Sirianni's offense, and it's a problem.
It should be sprinkled in there. I mean, I think there's enough data, enough proof over the past 20 years since Michael Vick, who was immensely talented, couldn't stay on the field.
Correct.
Right.
And I got to tell you, we were all of us that were on the right side of the draft a couple of years ago with Bijan Robinson, the correct side of the draft. We all got proved right because that kid is an animal. And if he stays on the field, he is going to be a top 3 running back for the next 6 seasons.
I didn't put it on the list for the third segment, but passing touchdowns are down by a huge amount in the first 2 weeks. It's a small sample size.
I have my own statistic. We'll get to passing touchdowns.
I think the running backs are making a comeback here.
Well, you have to. I mean, I look at life as a pendulum, right? We swing all the way to the right side in this passing league where Peyton Manning and Tom Brady are throwing for 6,000 yards and 52 touchdowns. Eventually, that thing is going to swing back. Now, we're not going to go back to 3 yards in a cloud of dust Jim Brown days.
No.
But we're going to adjust a little bit further to the other side because this is what sports and football is. You got to be whatever they're expecting. You need to do something different. And right now, every defense is schemed, built, and drafted and trained to stop the pass. And if you've got a running back and an O-line that can do it, why not? You're going to win most games.
I think you and I are in agreement that, the quarterback and the coach have to get along, and that's on the adult in the room. The head coach has to be the adult. So I agree with you that this is probably whatever issues are going on with that team. It's Sirianni first. Is any of this on Hurts?
He's not played great. I don't want to give him credit that he doesn't deserve. I will say having A.J. Brown out last week, last minute, probably wasn't helpful for whatever they schemed in that offense. And I can't, until I can see Jalen Hurts operate like he did with Shane Steichen, where he's given an offense by a coordinator that is not 7 plays of Nick's and then 5 plays of Kellen's and go back to what we did in 2022. Until I know for sure, which I don't think we can, that Nick Sirianni's not making these calls, I don't think that Jalen bears most of the blame. Is he playing great? Of course he isn't. But if you're getting put in a bad position consistently, if you're getting calls ran into your helmet that are gonna fail, what can you do? You know what I mean? Yes, he's culpable, but not to a level where I think it's his responsibility or something major we can change in him.
Well, it's this team, Philadelphia, is talented enough that they should be able to win without AJ.
Without question. 100% true. Absolutely.
At least for a game or two.
At 100%. It's just week 2 in the season also. We're not talking about the divisional round of the playoffs or the NFC title game where you need everybody and you need them to be their best. Week 2 against the Atlanta Falcons, you should be able to be down one of those premier receivers you have and still make it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Washington's dominant win.
You better chill out, pal.
Residing in first place in the NFC East over the New York football Giants. Look, the Giants are the first team. This is my favorite statistic ever in the history of the world. The Giants are the first team to score 3 touchdowns, not allow a single touchdown, and still lose.
Which is nuts. That is just this is nothing to do with football, but my favorite statistic I've ever heard in my life happened a couple of weeks ago, where Shohei Ohtani's season got ranked. It's the best offensive season we've seen in some years or something. and it only qualifies as Barry Bonds' 11th best offensive season of his own career. I love statistics like this. I have some statistics for you though, Jeffrey.
We'll have to get into some Barry Bonds discussions because
the greatest baseball player of all time, and nobody will convince me different.
It's really hard to argue that, even with steroids. But
he's the only guy I've ever seen in my life have 2 Hall of Fame careers in one. Nobody has ever done it before. No one's ever going to do it again.
He's also
statistics.
He's also He's also the only baseball player to have 2 completely different hat sizes over the course of his career.
That is fair. That is true. And jersey sizes and pant sizes and maybe shoe sizes. I don't know how much steroids make you grow. But I have some statistics for this dominant Washington victory.
All right,
Washington 5 sacks allowed. The Giants won.
Yeah.
Washington 10 penalties. The Giants 5. Yeah. Final score 21-18.
Right.
Now,
and the Giants didn't have their kicker either. Lost the kicker on the first play of the game.
I understand that we are operating from a Washington football team perspective of success and dominance. But even in that subjective world, I don't think we can call this dominance, Jeff. That's crazy.
Let me hit on the sacks. Part of that is a rookie QB holding the ball too long. Part of it, it's a terrible offensive line.
Yes.
I shouldn't say terrible. It's a much better offensive line than it was last year. But there's a young left tackle that was a guard in college, and they're trying to work him in slowly. And the other Cornelius Lucas plays left tackle as well. He's very limited in what he can do. Andrew Wiley, who they signed thinking that he was coming off a Super Bowl win from Kansas City, he was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, is a bum. He's terrible.
Well, that happens, man. When your quarterback's Patrick Mahomes, he makes a lot of really bad players look real fucking good.
Absolutely, yeah. That needs to be taken into consideration. As far as the penalties go, they're not inexcusable, especially since 7 of those penalties happened while they were in the red zone driving. Yeah, they were in the red zone 7 times and didn't score a touch, or 6 times and they didn't score a touchdown. That's insane.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
Not good. But again, I will give you. I am reasonable. I believe Jayden Daniels is going to be a great player. I think you have a real quarterback for the first time in my lifetime playing against the Washington football team. I think he's way better than RG3 ever could have been. I think he's got real quarterback skills. The question is going to be if he develops. And I know Terry McLaurin's a great player, but unless you build out an offense around him, my fear would be whatever his maximum potential is, you're never going to come close to. Because what I'm starting to realize in some of these quarterbacks, you've got 2 or 3 years maximum to get them to where you need them to be. Otherwise, they're all Gardner Minshew, and you're never winning with one of those guys.
Yeah. It's and teams are moving off them quicker than ever. Year and a half, 2 years at the most. Look,
Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields.
Well, Kenny Pickett was a terrible pick he wasn't a first round talent. He was a 5th round talent at best.
I don't disagree, but
it shows you how desperate teams are for quarterbacks. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, luckily we didn't have to trade up for him or anything like that. We were in perfect position to go. Here's what he passes the eyeball test, right? I forget about stats or how he looks like he was born to do this. RG3 didn't. Correct. RG3 was clunky. He was wiry. His legs flailed around as if independent from his body. He fell weird. He could every hit he took, it looked like he was going to explode. Yeah, it was flailing and it clunky and it didn't look natural. Everything with Jayden Daniels is smooth. Even the hits he takes, albeit you're going to see he took some big hits in college that he shouldn't have taken, but it looked like he knew how to take a hit. He knows how to run. The thing people don't realize about RG3, his straight line speed was fast. Go back and watch highlights of him trying to escape a pocket. It was embarrassing.
Yep.
He couldn't.
Yep. I agree.
And the way he throws a ball was so RG3 caught people by surprise. And part of it was the geniuses of the Shanahans.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are amazing coaches, and they are probably the best coaches who would take what they have and build around that and build towards their strength. So they knew that RG3 couldn't read a defense, right? It was one read and go. So they brought back the read option, and defenses weren't ready for that. It wasn't going to last forever.
It's unfortunate that those Shanahans just can't win the big one, but yeah.
Yeah, well, Mike did. He won 2.
Yeah.
Kyle did his.
112. Stop. We'll get to the Niners in time. Don't you worry.
Look,
stop.
Speaking of just noticing talent, I want to say, Dan Quinn, I thought it was a good hire. I don't think it was our first choice, despite what they say. I was infuriated week one when we were getting blown out and they had a designed run into the end zone with Jayden Daniels. Let the dude throw the ball, right? What's the point? Who cares
if you're going to lose the game? Why are you putting him in danger?
Why are you taking a chance? But I was just, before we got on, I would have loved it if they would have been like, you know what, Dan Snyder was ridiculous. We're going to rehire Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden has the greatest eye for coaching talent I have ever seen. Do you realize how many head coaches that are currently working in the NFL that are successful that were on his staff?
How many?
Like 4.
Okay, who are they?
Kevin O'Connell.
Okay.
Matt LaFleur.
Okay.
Sean McVay.
Okay.
And what's the other one?
Sean McVay, I'm sorry. Sean McDermott is the one that came through Andy's coaching tree. Continue.
Yeah.
I'm tabulating 1 versus the real coaches that built trees. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, he didn't have much of a chance. Did I say Kevin O'Connell?
Yes.
No, it's 3. Zach Taylor came from McVay's.
Sure. Secondary. So look, I'm not taking anything away from those guys and the games that they've won in the regular season in the National Football League.
They won a Super Bowl.
I'm aware.
And Shanahan. It wasn't Jay Gruden's, but Shanahan was in Washington's staff. It was Mike Shanahan's staff. So there's the fourth one he was talking about.
But why? What is it about fans of they're not third world, second world franchises? You're not all the way through. You're not a Jets fan. What is it with fans of second world teams that want to retread guys that looked good for a bad franchise? Don't do that to yourself.
I think Jay Gruden got he did so much with so little. Bruce Allen was the president of football operations. The dude did not give a shit about winning. He did not give a shit. He just liked the title he had. Dan Snyder was, I think we could agree, maybe the worst owner in sports history.
Well, the last worst one, yes. There's probably worse before we'd agree, but he was terrible. And listen, I want to tell you straight up, I know very intimately, don't expect a lot better. Josh Harris isn't going to be in the news, but he's not better.
Well, I mean, he owns the Devils too, right? Didn't he? They have a lot of success with the Devils.
He does own the Devils.
Yeah, he
owns the fucking. No, he owned the Sixers and then bought 2 competitors of Philadelphia. Is what he fucking did. But yes, he lit. Now I'll give you this much on the basketball sense. He knows how to hire guys who know what to do. Same thing he did with the Devils. The Devils did well for a while. They of course capitalized too late. He only had the team for so long. A lot of their guys were aging already. The Devils could have been a lot better if Josh Harris got there sooner because he's good at putting people in positions that know what they should do. But he's not that guy. I thought Dan Quinn was a great hire for what you're doing. You don't want some dynamo young offensive guy that's going to put Jayden Daniels in all these fucked up, wacky offenses. You want to be able to build the team the right way fundamentally. I thought it was a great hire when it happened.
Yeah, and Cliff Kingsbury. I'm not happy with the offense in the first 2 weeks. It seems very basic, very boring. But I realize that we're early on. Yeah, he's got a period to.
And I think it's got to be. If you want Jayden Daniels to be as good as he can be, I think you got to let him get that basic shit down. You're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, right? This is what you've got. This was Jalen Hurts taking over for Carson Wentz. I knew that next year we weren't winning a Super Bowl. It was about making sure you develop your players right. Don't put them in bad positions. Don't get them hurt, and at least get the fundamentals under them. And I think that's the right thing to do. And I said before this draft, and I might be wrong, because Caleb Williams does look like the real deal. I never liked the consensus number 1 quarterback. I think they're almost always wrong, i.e. Trevor Lawrence. I've been saying that for 5 years now. I thought that Jayden Daniels was the best quarterback out of this class. Caleb Williams might be by a hair, but I think those two are the same type of peak player. I think those 2 guys can be legitimate franchise 15-year starters if they're developed the right way. And unfortunately, Caleb plays for the Bears. So it's Jayden or nobody, really, at this point.
Talk about a cursed franchise when it comes to quarterbacks. Williams, he's got 3, horses at receiver. Like, I know he's young. He should look a little bit better than he has the past 2 weeks. But it's early. We'll see. I don't think they have the right coach there.
I agree with you. I like your quarterback, though.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk baseball.
Sounds great.
Welcome back. Time to talk baseball, which this is exciting because both of our teams are in the hunt here,
and I can't wait to play you. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. I mean, we just had a series. You guys took it. It was close though. You took.
It was
won the series.
Than it should have been,
and we should have won that second game. Bullpen blew it. What an interesting season. I mean, nobody picked the Phillies to have the best record in baseball, and they've had several times throughout they were so dominant for the first 2 months, and then they've been streaky,
Yeah.
Still very, very good team. Hard to beat. They got a lot of pieces, and when they are healthy and clicking, it's going to be tough to compete with them. Nobody gave the Mets a chance.
Not
even the Mets.
Nope.
Even the owner, the diehard owner Mets fan said,
even after the Braves lost 2/3 of their best players, nobody still put the Mets up there.
No. But they've had the best record in baseball since May 30th. That's the majority of the season. They are beating good teams. They're not just beating up on the Nationals and Marlins and the Braves who don't have half their team. They're beating solid, good pitchers.
One nice part about how they schedule now, where it's not 15 times against the Washington Nationals. I love that about what they did now.
You do like it.
I love it. I think I want competitive sports. Like, do you know how, first of all, I have two reasons why I like competitive sports and got bored about watching the Phillies beat the Nationals 13 out of 15. I also hate that the Miami Marlins, just for some reason, are the best team in history as soon as they play the Phillies. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's in their heads. I don't know if they just mail those in and that's the tampering in betting. I don't know why, but I hated it because they'd always lose that series against arguably the worst team in baseball every year. I love it. I love seeing the best players in any league playing against each other. If we could have the All-Star game all the time, I'd love that. The best talent is what I want to see all the time.
That's a fair point. We'll talk a little bit about the new baseball rules in the third segment. I'll save my rebuttal to that. But Mets 2 games up in the wild card. Got a tough road ahead of them. They play the Phillies 4 times, Atlanta 3 times. They finish up at Milwaukee. So those are no cakewalks. And Lindor is he's day to day, got a bad back, but he's the heartbeat of that team right now. No one had the Mets competing. My question to you is, as a Phillies fan, do you think first-year manager Carlos Mendoza should be manager of the year if the Mets get to the playoffs?
No, not B, but votes for sure. My 3 right now are Topper, best record in baseball, hard to keep him out. Davey Roberts is always going to be involved as long as the Dodgers are winning 95-plus games a year. I don't like Aaron Boone because I think, first of all, we all hate the Yankees. We can clear that up. Even when they deserve it, they don't deserve any awards. Fuck the Yankees. But I believe what Mendoza's pulled off with a team that should have been 35 games under 500 based on everyone's predictions. I think he should be in the 3. I don't think that it's likely he wins. 1, you're the Mets. I'm sorry. I'm the Phillies. I deal with it too. 1, you're the Mets. 2, you're not going to have the best record in baseball. 3, they're not going to be a division winner. 4, even though they did something they shouldn't, the first or second wild card spot, I don't think is enough to push that over. Now, if the Phillies, the Dodgers, and the Yankees all shit the bed the rest of the year and some magical thing happens where the Mets come in and win the division and maybe get close to that best record or second best record, maybe it's different. But if it ends the way it's gone, I don't think so.
I disagree completely. Look, take Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone. Their teams were expected to be where they are. If anything,
Okay.
the Dodgers have underperformed a little bit, considering, they've had some injuries and stuff like that. But they have literally the two best position players in baseball, Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani. He's not a position player, but he's,
Careful.
offensive players.
Careful. Jesus Christ. Don't give the Dodgers that much credit, first of all. Not the two of the, I'll give you. Two of the top 7, maybe. Mookie Betts is not the best position player in baseball anymore. We've moved on from Mookie. I agree.
Who
with
is?
You. I agree. You're not going to like my answer. Give me 1 second. Let's finish this part, then we can argue about that. I agree with you that Davey Roberts and Aaron Boone should not even be considered. I don't agree about Thompson only because no one had the Phillies with the best record in baseball. No one thought the Phillies were going to be 25, 30 games over 500. Everyone assumed it was going to be an 87, 88, 89 win season. We'd get into the wild card and we'd make magic happen again. They overachieved, in my opinion. It could be that the Dodgers underachieved. I don't really care which one's right. I just don't find it feasible that he could. If I had a vote, right, and it ended right now, I would have a really difficult time not voting for a Mets team that should not be where they are. Well, I'd have a hard time convincing myself out of that.
Well, keep in mind, your pitching staff is stacked, right? You're welcome for Zach Wheeler, by the way.
Well,
other than Taiwan Walker, who's not having a good season on that staff, right?
Aaron Nola, not a good one.
He's not having a Nola season.
He's having a Nola season, is what he's doing. Where are we? We're the last 3-4 starts of the year, and he looks like he's thrown 700 innings this year. Happens every year with Aaron Nola. Why they don't make him go on a 6-day rotation, I don't know. It's the money. I don't give a shit. He breaks down. Like, Nola is not an ace.
But he's part of the reason why you're here in this position.
Yes, but he's not an ace. Zach Wheeler is an ace. They're a different kind of pitcher.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
These fucking morons on Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio who talk about how we have 2 aces or maybe 3 because Sanchez has been great and Ranger's a good defender. You have 1 ace on the staff. Zach Wheeler is the only pitcher on this team, or in the bullpen. I'll even go that far.
Well,
if you need 3 outs, you're going to count
up there. He's done it for 2 years straight now.
Ranger's very good. He's a very good player. He's not an ace. He's not on that level. The pitching staff is very good as a whole. Their bullpen scares the shit out of me. I know Matt Strahm did it last year and looks like he's doing it again. I know Hoffman, similar situation. Jose Alvarado is as schizophrenic as anybody I've ever met in my life. I never know who he's going to be. And Carlos Estevez looks okay. I don't think he can get a save without giving up a hit. That worries the shit out of me.
I feel like that's every closer, though.
Yeah, well, which is why
I think they do it on purpose.
But look at what the Phillies have done for the last couple of years in these runs. They've not had a closer. There's not been a guy. It's a matchup thing, and it's worked for them. Their pitching staff is very good. They're not elite. They might be the best in baseball, but that's more of an indictment on how bad pitching is, not how good the Phillies are.
That's not necessarily how bad pitching is, but how frail it is, because there's always a ton of injuries every year. Here's my argument for Carlos Mendoza, though. Despite what we talked about, our pitching staff does not have an ace. Our ace has been out all year except for 1 start, and that's Kodai Senga. This pitching staff, bullpen and starters included, are made up of pitchers that were thrown out by other teams that nobody else wanted, that are on short-term deals. Prove it to me. Severino, he's going to pitch more innings this year than he has in like the past 6 years combined. Manaya's career was basically over. Nobody wanted him. He's going to cash in next year. He's pitching like an ace. David Peterson, who had this apparently hip thing his entire career, he has surgery in the offseason, comes in 2 months late, and he's pitching like a Cy Young. If he had the innings, if he was pitching like this all year, he would be a Cy Young candidate, right? So
I agree with you. I agree with all your points.
Nobody wanted these guys.
I hear you. And if I were voting
Enrique
on
Iglesias, not Enrique, fucking what's it, Jose Iglesias, right? Oh my God.
Yeah. I agree with you on the merits of your argument completely. But what we do have to understand in this conversation is what could happen. And there's no way it happens. I agree with you that the feel good's there, the story's there, the overachieving's there. I'm with you completely. I just know that, listen, you could probably get that at like plus 800 right now. I would go take it if you can find it, if you believe it's going to happen. I don't think there's any way with the Phillies team that's going to have the best record in baseball, with the Dodgers being another 90-win season, with what the Yankees are doing and how Aaron Judge looks right now and all the other shit that's happening there, it's not enough to push the voters over to not vote the way that we all know that they're gonna. I would probably vote for Mendoza if I had to vote, just based on the feel good of the story. It's just not how baseball works, man. It sucks, but it's true.
You heard it here first. Take your entire life savings and bet it on, if you can get 800 to 1 or plus 800, your entire life savings and put it on Mendoza.
100%. Why wouldn't you?
Entire life savings.
If we're being ideal, I think that's great. Now, talking about other things, because I have his name written down next. Because your next point, oh, by the way, Shohei Ohtani is the MVP. I don't think we need to.
Oh, God. All right. So this is going to be our first major point of contention here.
But wait a second. Before you start your argument. No. Stop. Before you start your argument, we have a player whose closest comparison is one of Barry Bonds' best season of his career. Francisco Lindor is a great player. If he's number 2, I love that for him. Pop off, pimp. It's Shohei Ohtani, and what he's doing is so unprecedented. The fastest 40-40 season ever. He's too good. I'm sorry. I really apologize to you that Shohei chose this year to be this fucking good. But he did, man. It's not Lindor. I'm sorry.
No one's going to argue the level he's at offensively. But let me ask you a very simple question, because it's happened several games this year. Not many, but let's say Ohtani goes 0 for 4. How does he impact the game?
Well, he's a DH. He doesn't.
Exactly. Lindor goes 0 for 4.
It's not enough.
He still won games with his defense, Justin.
It's not enough.
It matters.
I hear you. It's not enough, though. But it's not enough.
It should be.
But it can't be, because what do we watch? You brought up the steroid era. And
if
how much
Ohtani was pitching, it'd be a different story. As long as he wasn't losing games for his team, I would say he's the MVP, because he's affecting games where he's not hitting well or he's going through a streak.
Because he'd win a Cy Young and hit 40 home runs, he'd have to win both.
But even if he was a 3 or 4 in the rotation and he just wasn't costing them games.
This is crazy. I'm sorry. This is just so. Again,
0 for 4, no effect on the game.
But guess what? Look at the numbers, dude. Look at the numbers. Francisco Lindor is a great player. He's a great defender. He's a 5-tool player. I agree. But what he's doing on both sides of the baseball does not eclipse what Shohei's done with a bat in his hands. Just that.
If you're looking at advanced analytics, that's just wrong. The wins above replacement, Lindor is ahead. He's leading the league in wins above replacement.
This is
leading the league.
Jeff, this is the craziest.
Not only that, here's another point. No, it's not crazy. Most MVP stands for most valuable player.
Yes.
You take Ohtani off the Dodgers because they didn't have him last year, and they were still a great team. Okay. You take him off the Dodgers, they're still a very, very good team, if not great. You take Lindor off the Mets, they're not going anywhere. They're not even in the race.
Pump the brakes.
He is more valuable to his team than Ohtani is to his team.
Wait a minute. Francisco Lindor's been hurt, right?
No, he played every single game up until a couple days ago.
Okay, right, but he's not been as effective, which is what's going on, right? Now
no, he's been just as effective.
You can't. Listen. The next time we do the Mets, the hysteria that you're inside of right now, I will have all the advanced analytics you want me to come up with. Francisco Lindor's season started awful. He had a tremendous boost midway through, and he's tailed off like most players do. He's a very good player.
He hasn't tailed off though.
He's not gonna beat Shohei Ohtani for an MVP. It's not possible.
He should.
He shouldn't.
Yes, he should.
Jeffrey, do you want more fans for baseball? Do you want baseball to have more fans, less fans, or are you just happy where we are?
I'm happy where we are. We have enough fans. I don't need any more.
Keep people on. People are allowed to walk over your sidewalk. Your lawn's got nothing to do with this.
It's not going to bring fans to the game or drive them away. Lindor would be a great story that would bring fans to the game.
Negative, sir. Shohei Ohtani, that story. That's who he is.
He's already the biggest story in baseball. We know that.
Which is why he's obviously the MVP.
He's already won an MVP.
Together, and he deserves another one.
Maybe when he starts pitching again, but not this year.
His pitching, he's going to win a Cy Young.
He's
for his pitching.
surrounded by talent.
Yeah,
surrounded by talent.
Jeffrey, you asked me a question.
He's getting pitches to hit all year long. Not like when he was in Anaheim, where they pitched around him.
This is nuts. He had Mike Trout. This is nuts. And we got okay.
Mike Trout never plays.
You asked me a question a couple minutes ago about the best position player in baseball.
Yeah, you answered it wrong.
No. Well, I haven't answered it because I didn't give you an answer yet, sir. The best position player in baseball, and no one will walk me back on this, is the first baseman Bryce Harper. He's the best position player in baseball.
I mean, he's not the best position player.
He is. As a first baseman, he's the best position player in baseball. As a first baseman, not Bryce Harper, the 20-year-old right fielder. I would agree with you.
Are you talking about defense? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about a guy who's going to be able to hit 35 to 40 home runs, who knows how to hit the clutch, who shows up in the moment, who also plays Gold Glove level defense. That's a 5-tool player.
I don't know if he plays Gold Glove defense.
This is nuts. What are you talking about? Show me the errors of Bryce Harper at first base. I'll wait.
I don't think it was a bad move. I'm just saying I don't think it's enough to be. When I say position player, I meant everyday player. So that's how you're approaching this, right?
Of course, Bryce Harper's an everyday player, and he plays the position.
Talk about tailing off, though. He hasn't hit a home run since what, August 30th?
First of all, he hit a home run yesterday.
Okay, yesterday. But up until yesterday, it was like August 30th, right?
What's the point of that? It does. Well, you asked me.
You're talking about tailing off. He's not the best everyday player.
Of course, you're just wrong. He is the heartbeat of a team that without him is a bunch of overpaid players who cannot show up for a moment. He is an MVP. You wanted to ask me about my homerism. I tell you the truth. If I could pick the MVP,
he's an MVP for the Phillies. Guy. For the Phillies.
What does
MVP won an MVP, right?
What does yes he has. What does
he's
MVP
not having
mean?
an MVP season to his caliber even.
Why not? MVP means most valuable player. We agree, right?
Yeah, he's the most valuable player on the Phillies.
Hold on. An MVP can't come from a 20-win baseball team, right? We also agree. Wait a minute, Jeffrey. We have to be successful. You got to make the playoffs, right? If I have the best team in baseball with the best record in baseball, the best player on that team should be the MVP.
No, because if you take him off, the pitching could still carry that team.
But they don't. He's the heartbeat of that team. Without him, they don't win.
They could. The pitching could carry the team. It's good enough to carry the team. Now, I will give the reason I put this question on here. Is Bryce Harper the best Philly free agent ever? I would say yes. He does
a free agent ever.
He embodies that city. He was good. He won a World Series with Washington.
He didn't win a World Series with Washington.
He didn't?
Nope.
Oh, that's right.
After he got traded
after, right?
He got traded here. Yeah.
That's right.
The year he signed here, correct.
He embodies that city so much. He embraces the soul of Philadelphia so much that he could have a terrible season and he would still be the heartbeat of that team.
Correct.
That's just the type of transcendent player he has become in Philadelphia.
Which makes him not the best Phillies free agent, the best Philadelphia free agent signing in any major sport ever.
Right. That's where I was going with that question. Yeah.
There is no competition. Dr. J was great and we won a title in 83. Cool. Moses Malone, awesome. Cool. Nothing comes close to what Bryce Harper's done for this city. All you have to do is turn on a Phillies game in 2016 and then turn on a Phillies game in 2021. Tell me which team you think is more lovable, which team has more engagement, and Bryce Harper's that catalyst. I will tell you too, Kyle Schwarber helps a lot. That guy's moxie is just something that we love, dude.
Where did he hit in Chicago? Did he hit lead off in Chicago? I seem to remember.
The only leadoff he had before here was Boston.
So they're the ones that saw like, hey, let's give this a try. And he's such an anomaly. He's such a unicorn.
It's the greatest leadoff hitter in baseball right now. There's no second place. Well, that's crazy because you say crazy things.
Well, Lindor, who should be, you're saying second in the MVP, is leading off. So I would say that he's better than Schwarber.
That's bananas.
Okay.
I would rather the opportunity to go up 1-0 every game than Francisco Lindor looping a single and maybe stealing second. I would rather
And go up 1-0.
It puts me up.
He steals second. He goes up. They go up 1-0. They drive him in.
Get him home. I need the 2-hole. I need Trey Turner.
Even though he's breaking the record for leadoff home runs in a year, 14 times that happened. Justin, how many wins do they have out of that? It's not. 14. It's not as important of a stat as you think 14. It is. 14.
They don't lose. They don't lose when he hits. They don't lose when he hits a leadoff home run.
14-0.
Yes.
Okay,
maybe
that's not even
13-1 this year, but I'm
that's
pretty
not even
positive
a quarter of the season, and he had to break a record to get to 14.
Yes, and that's tremendous. I love it. I love every bit of it. I love that.
But he's not going to break a record every year.
I love that the guy who has the best chance of hitting the ball over the fence hits the most in a game. That's what you want.
I'll take Lindor getting on base and hitting a 2-run home run out of the 2 spot. That's what I'll take.
You win the Lindor argument with his defense, not with his offense. Kyle Schwarber's better.
That's definitely not true. That's definitely an argument we can have. There are so many things. He might not hit as many home runs as Schwarber, but there's other things that he does very well.
He doesn't walk as much as Schwarber.
Better average.
Okay, but what's the on-base percentage?
He gets himself in scoring possession.
Mets fan, do me a favor. Pull up Lindor's on-base percentage. I'm just curious. I've never looked at the comparison.
Kyle. What's Schwarber's? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not, of course, not off the top of my head. I didn't think we'd have to get into this kind of argument.
While I'm doing this, Phillies have been streaky, but they just went through a pretty cold streak. Then they perked up against the Mets. Are you worried about this going into the playoffs?
No, not even a little bit. Not even kind of. The moment that Citizens Bank Park has a playoff game, all of the fear will abate. Don't worry.
Not worried at all.
Not even a little bit. Not kind of. What team should I be fearful of? It's not the Mets. No offense. I don't think the Dodgers are real.
I want to see the Mets and Phillies in the playoffs more than anything. More than any other team.
Me too. Because
Padres
both here.
Good pitching. Oh, okay. Padres good pitching. A tough lineup.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. They don't. There's none of
you lived in reality.
No team. But here's the reality. Are you ready for the reality dose? None of them are that much better, nor are the Phillies that much better than them. There is no clear leader of the pack. So I'm not concerned with any of them. I think I have a fighter's chance every series, any team in this league as it's constructed. I think all the wild card teams feel that way too. Sure. I think the whole league should. I think anybody that makes the playoffs should agree it's a wide open field. We have no clue what's going to happen. Kyle Schwarber, by the way, is 371 on base.
All right. You got 342 for Lindor. How many home runs does Schwarber have on the year?
Home runs. That's an easy one to find. Should be 35 homers, 97 RBIs to date.
All right. Well, Lindor has 31. So it's not like he's blowing him out of the water home run wise. And 103 runs scored. How many runs scored does Schwarber have?
Runs scored. Hold on. Runs 102.
All right. So, they're really close.
Okay, so we can agree that your homerism and mine make us both right, and we're both wrong too. It's okay. I'm down. I'm fine with that. Francisco Lindor is not better than. We'll call them as good. How about that?
I think we'll have to settle on that.
We have the two best
until next week.
Yeah,
until next week when one of them pulls ahead. All right, let's take a quick break.
You want to go over these rule changes?
Yeah, well, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll discuss the rest of this list.
Got it.
Welcome back, everybody. This last segment here, I thought maybe we would just throw some random talking topics, any big news that's happening in sports we could talk about in this segment. But since this, first show, kind of trying this out, feeling each other out here, I wanted to talk about baseball's new rules. And you mentioned this a little bit. You're a fan of them. I was never a baseball purist necessarily. I liked some of the things that baseball traditionally embraces, and I don't want to see those go away all the time. But I was never opposed to new rules to make the game better. And I know, so this isn't new news. Obviously, these rules have been implemented for a couple of years now, but we've had some time to digest them and see what the actual results are, and we can speak to them as fans, despite what those actual results are. So I'll pose the question to you. You already mentioned, but you're a fan of the new rules.
I love the pitch clock because it keeps the game moving fast. I think it's great. I've always been a fan of the 3-batter minimum. I've always hated how you could make a change 3 times in an inning for 3 batters. It just feels cheap to me. You should be good enough to get 3 outs, I think. I don't think that's too much to ask. I love the pitch clock. I will tell you, the Ghost Runner is my favorite one because I think like everyone who likes baseball, I love it when my team wins. I hate it when they don't. It's just, I think it's the stupidest thing in the world when it costs my team, and I think it's the greatest innovation ever when it works for us.
Yeah, clearly it favors the home team.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. Pitch clock. I never bitched about it. The fact of the matter is, people weren't coming to baseball to watch it. The game, I wouldn't say it was dying, but it wasn't attracting new fans. It wasn't keeping old fans, right? It was just kind of puttering along. And clearly it was because of the length of games.
Yeah.
And what the pitch clock has done is bring not only the old fans back, the casual fans. We got young people in the stands. I mean, attendance is up, ratings are up, and baseball is mostly a regional sport. So, like an A's fan doesn't really have a lot to root for ever. They don't even have hope.
Correct.
But their ratings are up,
Yeah.
So it clearly it was the right move. And I know fans tend to hate the commissioners of their sports. I mean, Roger Goodell, which I think actually does a really good job growing the sport. But same thing goes for baseball. So I think bravo taking that risk. I think the one rule I don't like that I think we'll disagree on is I like watching division rivals go at it a million times a year. I really do. I do not care about watching the Mets play the White Sox, whether they were good or bad.
Don't you care about the Mets playing like the Blue Jays if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is on a run? Like, it's the interleague play I think needed more. And I'll give you this. I agree that they went too far the other direction. I would like to see a little bit more division rivalry. I do like that. Basketball's not going away from that. They made a competitive balance where the West plays the East more, but they still kept a lot of those games, a lot of that schedule for those division rivalries because it's what intrigues people in the sport. Boston and Philadelphia fans hate each other. It's a part of the narrative. I would be fine with giving a little bit more of that schedule back to how it was. I just don't want to go back to playing 17 games a year but against a team that you're going to trounce. Like, it's not entertainment to me. I like when my teams win, but I want them to have to beat somebody. I don't want them to just show up and fall into every victory against the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, I do get that. But I think we had that. We had, the inner city rivalries that we saw every year, and then they played a couple teams because they played a couple interleague series throughout the year, and that varied. I don't need to see the Mets play the Blue Jays and Vlad Guerrero every year. Home and away. I once every couple of years is fine with me. So I felt like we had a really good balance as far as interleague play. That's the one thing that I would have pushed back against.
I'll give you your schedule I'll tell you what, reviewed pitches. If I think we need reviewed pitches from the minor leagues, I'll give you your schedule back.
Well, I think we're going towards robot umps, so I don't think that's necessary.
I couldn't disagree with you more. No way.
Why would you review pitches if the robot umps are calling the game perfect?
They'll lose too many of their core fan base, and there is a part, even for somebody like me, where baseball was not my first love. The human element is interesting. And if you challenge a pitch and get it wrong, you can't challenge the next one.
You're slowing down the game now.
By 5 seconds.
Baseball's still a little clunky with their review system. Sometimes it takes way longer than it should. Well, how many pitches can you challenge a game?
Have you watched the minor league system? Have you seen how it works? It's instantaneous. It's like tennis. So there's a camera that's on the pitch every pitch.
Sure.
And that camera tracks that pitch into the strike zone. And if a batter taps his helmet, it's like tennis is. Instantly comes up on the big board. They watch where it hit. It's called a ball or a strike.
So the batter gets to challenge. How many times can you do this though?
If you get a challenge wrong, you don't get any more.
Okay.
I believe there's supposed to be 2 in an at-bat. Most players stay with 1 because they don't challenge pitches frivolously. It's like the challenge coming into baseball. I remember all the purists saying this is going to slow everything down and it's going to make it all AI and replay and it's going to take people out of it. I don't think it's slowed it down. I think it's made it better.
It's not going to take people out of it any more than the robot umps would, So
yeah. I watched Armando Galarraga lose a perfect game because an umpire's retarded. We should be able to challenge that call. If you have an umpire, C.D. Buckner, who spent the whole game fighting with the rival manager and is just looking for a reason to throw him out and is calling pitches 4 inches outside strikes on purpose, we should be able to stop that guy from taking over the game, I think.
Yeah. I think it should be, if they're going to do that, limited to 1. You get 1 challenge.
I'm with that. I'd be totally fine with 1. Win or lose, I agree with you. Whether you're right or wrong, you don't get another. I agree with you.
One thing I was very skeptical of was the bringing the DH to the National League. That would be the
love it
purest part of me. I do. I ended up loving it. So
I did watch. I did. Zach Wheeler swing a baseball bat. No.
Yes and no. Do you remember when Bartolo Colon hit a home run?
I do.
We're not going to get those moments anymore.
Yeah, but like if Kyle Schwarber's 14 leadoff home runs aren't important, the one time Bartolo Colon swung hard enough to get it over the fence doesn't matter.
No, it's not. I'm not talking about importance to the game or importance to the season. I'm talking about just those are the special moments that only happen in baseball.
Oh, sure, right? Coolness.
Where people,
this
motherfucker swung himself out of his helmet every single at bat, and he gets up there in like the last. I think he played 1 more year after that. He hits a fucking home run.
Yeah. And like, I think Zach Greinke was like 1 home run away from having the record for most of the pitcher.
Yeah.
Right up until they took the DH away, the pitcher away and added the DH. I get you. I agree. It's a special moment.
DeGrom was a good hitter. That was exciting, watching a good, but
can't stay healthy to pitch, but he is a good hitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and, also took the bunting out of the game, the small ball, which I do enjoy. I'd like to see
that
come back in some way.
Coming back. I think it will. I agree with you.
I think you have to. I think it's just another way to win. Speaking of new rules, a new kickoff format for the NFL. What are your thoughts?
I wrote meh in my notes because I don't really fucking care. Like
it's only been 2 weeks, but
and I get the premise. I understand the idea is player safety, and maybe I guess it looks like they're hitting each other less hard, but I don't fucking care. It doesn't. You're taking away my excitement on kickoffs now. I don't like that.
Well, there was no kickoff returns last year. That's the problem. It's up
there's
now.
Not going to be this year either, though.
It's up a little bit. It's not a lot, but like 10%, not a lot. But I guess my real question is: do you miss the kickoff returns in the game? Because I do. We share the best kickoff returner in history until what's his face came along for Chicago. Was it? Oh my God, was it Desmond Howard?
No. I'm thinking Cordarrelle Patterson and Devin Hester. No. That's it. Devin
Hester. Yes.
Yeah.
I knew it was some sort of D name.
The greatest punt return of all time happened against you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Miracles of Meadowlands, one of the 3. But I agree. I mean, listen, I went in thinking that there was a possibility that we would maybe see a real increase in returns, but you went from the 25 to the 30, not the 25 to the 40. So teams are not going to care about those 5 yards. You're going to train your defense to understand you're defending 70 yards, not 75 now. That's it.
You think they'll adjust it? I think they have to if they're going to keep it.
I hope they do. I think even if you move it up just another 5 to the 35, you've got to give them a reason to not kick it into the end zone. 5 yards is not doing it.
I agree. Who do you like for Thursday night? We got Jets at -6.5 over 38.5.
Under and take the points for the Patriots because I don't like the Jets at all. And the Patriots, very surprisingly, for the first 2 weeks, have played well.
That dude's a good coach. You can tell.
Yeah, Gerard Mayo, just a leader of men. Like they're not going to win, right? They're not going to be a good team, but they're going to be a fucking hard team to beat. They're not going to lay down for anybody.
They're going to ruin someone's season.
Cleveland. Oh, for sure. They're not going to be the Cleveland Browns from the early 2010s.
Well, they with the injury to Tua now, they might sneak in ahead of Miami.
Yeah, and that
because I'm with you. I don't think the Jets are real, man. Aaron Rodgers looks old. Really? What are we watching if we're not watching our teams? What are you excited about?
Who did I write? Well, first of all, my team, you can call me a homer, and it's a great way to, I guess, end our first one, to show my true colors of the Eagles. I think the Eagles bounce back big against the Saints after what the Saints just did to the Cowboys. I think that this is like the first score I wrote down was 34-13, but we don't have to get too much further into that. I don't want to ruin all my reputation right away. I like the Broncos this week over the Bucks. I think the Ravens are going to destroy the Cowboys because I think the Cowboys suck, and I think they're going to continue to suck. And I actually like the Bears over the Colts this week. I want to see the Bears actually do some good.
Indy's offense did not look good. Not look good last week.
They picked the wrong guy. You got the right
one. Yeah. I mean, I can see Chicago breaking out finally. Man, New Orleans, are they for real?
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out, aren't we?
Eagles, aren't we?
And who'd you say you like Denver?
Yeah, I like the Broncos over the Bucks. I don't like the Bucks at all.
I do. I think Baker's got it, man. He figured it out.
That sentence makes my stomach hurt.
Well, we'll find out. Last year.
He's not Johnny Football. I'll give you. He's not as unlikable as Johnny Manziel was. I still don't like Baker. I don't like him.
What game are you interested in? If not, let's say you couldn't watch the Eagles or the Phillies. What are you interested in? Anything you're watching specifically that interests you?
I think the best game this week might be the Patriots and the Jets. I think that might be the best game of the week. I think you've got a lot of no doubters, like obvious wins. I think the Packers are going to be in free fall mode here after this honeymoon period of Jordan Love's hurt gets through.
He might start. He was running around today. He might start this week.
I don't have any reason to think the Green Bay Packers are going to rush a guy back. They've never done it, but I'll take it being Jordan Love, the highest paid quarterback in South Dakota, to be that guy. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like the Ravens in the Dallas game, man. I think they're going to lose, and if I can't watch the Eagles win, the next best thing is watching the Cowboys lose.
I'm totally with you on that. You know, the other thing I'm really interested in is Minnesota, Houston. Sam Bradford is a great story, and CJ Stroud is the real fucking deal.
Yeah.
He really is.
He's going to be great for a long time. CJ.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
Other than that, of course, I'm watching the Mets on Sunday. So no doubt, I'm following all the wild card games for sure.
You got to now. I mean, we're in the home stretch now. I think Phillies can clinch the playoff berth tonight, and then I think that brings the division down to 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7. Yeah. They're going to lock up the division in the Mets series. It's 4 games. I'm hoping they split, but they're locking up the division.
Of all fucking people on planet Earth, a guy decked out in Mets gear should know what happens when you sow chickens before they hatch. Don't you put that bad juju on my Phillies.
You don't think I came here to jinx you?
I hate that. I hate that. I am looking forward to the series in Citizens Bank Park against the Mets. I can't wait.
Yep. The Mets need to go 6-5 down the stretch here to secure that playoff spot.
I think you'll be fine. I think that's a safe bet.
Now, I have on the list here, I'm sure you saw a great baseball name. So my cousin and I used to do this thing when we were drinking in the bar where we would rattle off like baseball players that have these unique names that are unique only to baseball, right?
Sure.
And we would go back and forth and we would just be cracking up because these aren't Hall of Fame players. These are like solid contributors. I'll give you an example. Chuck Knobloch.
Good one.
You're not going to get a Chuck Knobloch in the sport of basketball or football or hockey. That is a baseball only name.
I've got a current one. Orion Kirkering. I'll never hear that name again.
Yes. Another one I really liked was Bernard Gilkey.
Yeah, that's another good one.
So I think what I want to do every week is we'll each come up with one great, like, unique baseball name, and we'll spend 2 or 3 minutes just talking about their careers, because one thing that these new people coming into baseball don't yet appreciate is how far the history goes back and how much history is tied to baseball, and just how many, if you're not in the Hall of Fame, it's easy to get lost. And there's so many like really, really solid players that you just don't talk about because there's so many great players out there to talk about. So I think we need to do the mid-level players their justice.
And some of the great ones I think get overlooked and forgotten about, like Catfish Hunter. Like, what?
Tug McGraw.
Who has these names anywhere else? I think it's tremendous. I like it.
And I think we'll go back to, we'll even do some weeks where we go back to the Negro Leagues to try and, they deserve all the credit, all that talent there. But there was some great nicknames. Like my favorite is Oil Can Boyd.
Yeah.
Again, not getting that in any other sport.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool ones. I'll do some research. That's going to be good. I like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. On that note, that's it for the first episode, and we'll try again next week.
And then Kyle Schwarber's the lead off. And we're going to fight about this for the next 2 decades. We'll be dead in our graves arguing.
We will. Because I don't think Lindor's going anywhere from that leadoff spot.
Unless you get someone better.
Is there someone better out there that's going to be available?
Probably. I don't know that Trey Turner's going to be a Philly in 3 years.
I feel like he does not embody the city of Philadelphia. Good player, but I feel like he feels out of place.
And he's not as good as Chase Utley was, and that's why he can't fit. Or Cole Hamels. Like they're not Philly guys, but they were good enough that we can embrace them. And Trey's just not been that for a year and a half.
A View from the Nosebleeds is brought to you by White Horse Studios. Any unauthorized distribution will result in a punch to your stupid face.